Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of FSI DFS. I am MegaRuler31. I previously did record another video, but the file got a little bit corrupted, so I'm going to do another one, but I'm going to shorten it a little bit just so we have enough time to get it out to you before the slate, so you have enough time to watch it and study. So I'm going to go through pitchers and stacks. I'm going to skip the game-by-game breakdown because with 15 games, it's going to be pretty long, and I'll do what you guys are telling me is probably your favorite segment at the end. Still, I'll do a couple lineup constructions for you, just so if you have any additional questions, you can always reach out to me on Twitter at MegaRuler31. Many of you have, and I've enjoyed the engagement I've had with you guys there. Some of you have joined our Discord. It's been great to see you pop in there and subscribe to us. And we've had some really good results. And then also, you can also leave comments below, and we try to check into the chat periodically through the day to see what comments you've left below this video to see if there's anything we can answer to help you out. So anyways, let's jump right into it. Pitching, we've got a lot of aces tonight, but we also have a lot of aces that are in difficult situations. Trevor Bauer is probably going to be the highest owned pitcher. He faces the Giants. Giants put up 20 runs yesterday on Cincinnati. Now, again, it was a different ballpark. It was in the Great American Small Park there. And now they return home, which is more of a pitcher-friendly park. And he actually goes up against decent competition in a revenge game for Alex Woods. So I still like him. I think he's got one of the longest leashes. He seems like that the manager trusts him more than some of the other starting pitchers. And they did have a bullpen game yesterday, so that might extend a little bit more. Highest priced pitcher, like him in this spot, but he's not my favorite, but no problem playing him there in cash. Erin Nola is the next one up. He's against Boston. I think he's having a really good season, and this Boston team isn't who they used to be. You do have a couple lefties in the lineup there with Verdugo and Devers, but I think he can get to the righties. I think definitely, he scores around 20 DK points and does well there, and I think he's probably my favorite of the high or up priced pitchers here above 10K. The next one would be Glasno. He gets Toronto in a small park. So even though he's had a good season and Toronto has struggled at times against right-hand bats, I'm not interested with him in this smaller ballpark, even though the wind is blowing in at like 20 miles per hour. I think he's fine for GPPs, but for cash, I'm not touching him. Ian Anderson is interesting too. I think I like him. I like Nola a little bit more, but Ian Anderson definitely against this Pittsburgh team who's really, really struggled. They only have a 3.3 implied run total. I think, you can get some Ks. I think, he too will also finish around 20 DK points. So at 10.5, I think he's a good option. Alex Wood, I think, would be GPP only. He comes in at 10K. Again, it's a revenge game. His offense has been doing decent, but he's up against the Dodgers, who are still a little bit banged up. You have some really good power righties here, and Pujols in that lineup hit a home run yesterday. So I like him, and I think he's going to be lower owned out of all these guys, and it might be a good chance to play him, but I think you'd only do that in the GPP, and you'd stack some Giants with him and make a nice little contrarian play there. Rendon falls under 10Ks at 9.9. He gets the Yankees. I think he's a GPP play. He's had a great season. The Yankees are hot and cold times. It's a pretty even game. 4 runs apiece. Even like the White Sox are negative 109 favorite and the Yankees negative 107. So it's pretty much a pick'em game. So I think that he can get some run support. He might get the win, but the Yankees don't have a ton of lefties in the lineup for him to really take advantage of. And usually the Yankees hit left-handed pitching pretty well. So I think he's a good play, but a dangerous one. Perez, I'm not interested in for Boston against Philly. I think that he is that the Philly bats can get to him. Stroman gets Miami at Miami, which is a pitcher's park. He's 9.1. I think he's about Oh, I think he should be about 8K. I think he's an okay pitcher. If for some reason you land on him for a pitcher with the rest of your roster construction, if you build your bats first and then pick your first pitcher and he's the one that fits, then I'm fine with it. But I don't think he's a priority. Paddock gets Seattle. Paddock's only been going like 4 or 5 innings, so I think he's a little bit dangerous. I like the price. He definitely has potential, but I think it's a GPP only because you're paying the price for the potential that he only goes 4 or 5, but he could potentially break the slate and have a great game if he goes 7. Seattle just got a no hit a couple nights ago. They do struggle. Strasburg comes in at 8-3. He's got a nice matchup against the Orioles. However, I just don't trust him. The guy gets hurt so much. 8-3 is a great. It's almost DK tempting us to put him in the lineup. Really not interested there. Don't know how long he's going to go, and he could sneeze in the second inning and hurt his back and be done for the game. So I don't trust him. But in GPP, I can see it definitely making sense. I think he's got a floor of having single-digit numbers if he gets injured, but then I think he maybe has potential of the ceiling of somewhere in the 20s. Montgomery against the Chicago White Sox. They have been really good against left-handed pitching. He's been a decent pitcher, so I'd stay away from there. Hauser against Cincinnati at the Great American Small Park. No way. Trevor McKenzie, I kind of like here at some point, but it all depends on the Minnesota line. Minnesota has, I think, Polanco and Cruz as day-to-day questionable. I think they might be getting some other people potentially back that are injured, but you'll have to see what the lineup looks like, because if it's not a strong lineup, I really like McKenzie in the spot. If Minnesota is full strength, then I'm a little bit hesitant, and I might actually play the Minnesota bats against him. Okay, now I've come to my favorite pitcher on the slate, and I think Mike Minor, who has struggled at times, is playing for Kansas City, but he gets the Detroit bump today in Kansas City. I think he's got some strikeouts there that he'll get. I think he has a chance to get the win here. I really like him against this Detroit lineup. So he is definitely my favorite pitcher on the slate. So either I'm going to take one of those high guys, and I think it's going to be Nola or Anderson, and pair them with Minor. Sorry, lost sound there for a second. And I think that's going to be what I'm going to do. Looking at the rest of the pitchers, there's really nobody in this mid-range that's interesting to me. Possibly, I think James Caperian gets his second start against the Angels. The Angels are banged up. They don't have Mike Trout. There's only about 3 guys in there, and Ohtani, Rendon, and Walsh, that really worry me. So I think that he's a great low-priced option if you're trying to get bats. If you want to make Minor your SP1 in Caperian, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, James, as your SP2, I like that. Holloway is intriguing also in the same price range against New York Mets, who are really, really banged up also in a pitcher's park. I don't know how deep he's going to go into the games. The Oakland pitcher did really well versus Boston. I mean, he gave up some hits and stuff. He had some Ks. It was a good performance. It wasn't like an elite performance, but he definitely showed that he's going to go out there and pitch some innings. I see exactly how much he had. 5 innings. So, I mean, that's decent for a 6K pitcher. I'll take that. If you really, really want to get cute, Marquez is in Coors against Arizona. He's been okay, probably the best Colorado pitcher, but still you're in Coors with a very, very strong wind blowing out. So, and I don't think there's anybody else. Some people might get cute and take Ivy versus Texas. He's a up-and-coming Houston pitcher, but struggled a little bit in the minor leagues. So, okay, that pretty much just pitching. Like I said, play a guy up top and Minor's SP2, or take Minor as your SP1, and then take more of probably a GPP, the Oakland pitcher, or maybe the Miami pitcher as your SP2 if you really want to jam a lot of bats in. Okay, stacks. We have Coors Field, and you have 17 to 20 mile per hour wind blowing out to right field. So Rockies have struggled this year, but I really like them against Francoff in this spot. especially the lefties. I'm hesitant on Charlie Blackmon. It just seems like he's not the same player. He's not leading off anymore. He's not stealing bases. So for me, I'm not really on him. I like Tapia, Story, Cron, McMahon, Hampton, and Fuentes possibly also. Nunez as a catcher, I think, is also in play. So love the Rockies. Highest total on the slate, 6. I think they're going to have a really good night. Arizona on the other side is against Marquez. I would probably keep them as a secondary stack. I do like some of these guys, but they're pretty expensive, more expensive than the Rockies. And Marte and Escobar are like 5-3. I know they're switch hitters and have like the advantage against any pitcher that comes out for Colorado. Smith and Rojas, so the top 4 are good. Josh Reddick, we'll have to see if DK puts him in the player pool. I don't think he's in there right now at that point, but even Peralta at 4-1 is decent. Varsho, their catcher, who was like 2.2K, and we all loved him yesterday, but then Arizona put their line out like 5 minutes before lock, and yeah, it was a late game, so I know they were justified in doing that, but then we all had to scramble and move to like the Philly catcher if we had $100 left, or just leave him in the lineup and just take the 0 if we had like the rest of our line. So he's 3K, and I definitely think he's in play. I like him there. But again, I think this Arizona is a secondary stack. I really like Colorado, and then like a cheaper stack with them to try to get one of those higher pitchers, and then minors your SP2. So the next stack I really like is going to be Cincinnati. I know they completely got destroyed yesterday by San Francisco, but they put up quite a few runs in that game also. Definitely like the lefties here, Winker, Naquin. I'm okay with Castellano and Suarez, but Hauser has the highest fly ball home run ratio on the slate. He's a low K pitcher, so balls will be hit, balls will be in play. Also, on the other side of this, I'm not a huge fan of Jeff Hoffman. So if you're looking for a cheaper stack, I really like some of these Milwaukee guys. Christian Yelich is only 4.6, which is pretty reasonable. I really, it's kind of funny to see like Colton Wong only $300 less than him. But Navarez, Vogelbach in the 3K range there. So Shaw. So I'm not saying they're a full stack, but I think there's some cheap pieces here that you could definitely mix in to make some of your more expensive stacks work. I like Cleveland in Minnesota. When not really a factor there. I see the arrow pointing to the outfield, but it says 0 miles per hour, so never mind. But the temperature is going to be high there. I think it's going to be like 86, close to 90 degrees. So the pitcher they face is an okay pitcher. Nothing great there, but I think they can definitely get to him. I like Rosario, Ramirez, Naylor, the lefties here. I think they definitely are not going to be popular. Going to be kind of a contrarian stack on this 15 game slate, but I like the 4.68 total, and I think that they can definitely score some runs there. Tampa Bay is also interesting against K. They don't have a ton of right-handed batters to throw against this lefty, but I think that I don't know how long K is going to go into the game. So up against the bullpen, then the lefties could come back into play. But it's a smaller park. They've been hitting well recently. They strike out a lot, but they have been hitting. So they have almost a 5 total of 4.94. So I like Randy leading off. Margot 3-4 projected to bat possibly second. Diaz, Adams, Zunino as a catcher. He's a mid-range at 3.8. It's a little bit more than I like to pay, but I think he's in a good spot. But then again, I don't really fear playing some of these left-handed bats too, because if K doesn't go that long, then you're going to get a righty from some righties, hopefully from the bullpen, and they can take advantage of that. So that puts Meadow back and play lows, like way too expensive. I think at 5-1, I would kind of avoid him there. And Bruseo sometimes moves up in the lineup against the lefties. So if he's like hitting second or third or something like that, then he's a consideration also. I think my final favorite stack, and might be my second favorite stack overall next to the Rockies, is the Chicago Cubs. If you've been watching our videos, McKinley 412 really has been suggesting that we target against Martinez quite a few times this season, and he's been correct on it. And Martinez was hurt a little bit. Now he's back. He's had some really bad games, had a couple of okay games, but I really like this lineup against him, and he's a reverse splits pitcher. So these Chicago righties are definitely in play with Bryant and Baez and Contreras. Hap also, he's pretty cheap at 3-1. Bote and Homer, if you want to round it out, I'm okay. Maybe do a wraparound thing, but you have the pitcher in the way there because it's in a National League park. But I'm not writing off Peterson or Rizzo either with the lefties, even though Martinez is worse against righties. He has been bad against lefties also. So looking at some other cheaper stacks, Washington, their studs are expensive in 6K. They're priced about the Coors prices, but the middle of the lineup, I'm okay against Lopez. They have a 5-run implied total. So if you want to skip Turner Soto, I understand, and just do Bell, Schwarber, and then maybe throw in like Castro, Harrison. Those guys are all under 4K. I like that. Another cheap one also is the Texas Rangers. Again, they're like strikeout or home run, but they get Ivy, who's a newer pitcher. The Houston bullpen isn't bad, but they might be able to get to him earlier. So again, we're looking Calhoun, Lowe, Gallo, maybe through Solak in there. Seems to be one of the more patient hitters of them. I've seen him get on base, and these guys have some speed also. So there's some. I see Brock Holt potentially in the lineup too at third base for 2-6. So that's really intriguing. He seems to be a good hitter against righties, even though he's been in the league for a while. And then I think I like the Oakland A's also. Quintana has really struggled at times, and the A's have a lot of good right-handed bats. And I think I'll show you when we do the breakdown in a second. They're going to be my favorite stack if I'm paying off for 2 pitchers, especially all these righties you have. You have Pinder, I think, might be back in the lineup. Not a big fan of Andruis, but Piscotty, Murphy are cheap, under 4K. Piscotty's only 2.7. And then, Kana, Lowry, Lorano, and Chapman are all around the mid 4K, which isn't too bad, but they definitely will work if you want a stack against a pitcher who struggled. I think I'm going to go there in GPPs. So just rounding things out, just some other stacks for GPPs. The Chicago White Sox, they hit left-hand pitching really well. So Anderson and Abreu and Makata, definitely like them in GPP. I think they'll have low ownership. Philly, I said Perez is a bad pitcher. I like them. Gets him. Atlanta's always strong. They have a good matchup. I think they'll kind of go overlooked if you're looking for a GPP stack there. Of course, they're priced as if they're playing in Coors Field. I think they might be even more expensive than some of the Rockies. Yeah, definitely. Like Acuna, 6-1. I think Story was 5. Yeah, you have Story at 5.2, and you have Freeman at 5.5, so he's more expensive. Albies at 5.4, so he's more expensive. So, but they're playing Tyler Anderson, they're playing Pittsburgh, and definitely have a chance if you want to stack them in a GPP like that. And then finally, San Diego, I think, would be the final stack that you could consider against Flexen, my favorite KBO pitcher who made me a lot of money in KBO, stacking against him. He's been better, but not great. These San Diego teams starting to get healthy. They have a 4.5 run total. I think, they'll go overlooked being like a late game in the slate. People like to play early teams so they can watch them or see their money grow. They don't want to be patient and wait towards the end. So I think a stack of, Grisham, Cronenworth, Hosmer, throw in Tatis and Machado if you can, especially in a GPP, is good. So again, as promised, let's look at some lineup construction. So if you go all the way up top and you want to take Bauer and Nola as your pitchers, and you want to capitalize on pitching points there, you think they're going to go out and put 30 points, so you think you're going to lock in potentially anywhere from 50 to 60 DK points just in your pitchers, then what can you do? Well, the nice thing tonight is that we have at least 3 pitchers on this 15-game slate that are 2K that are projected to start catchers. So throw in one of those 2K catchers. I think my favorite would be Leon because he's a switch hitter. He usually bats 7th. But the other 2 definitely are okay to throw in there. So then I said, I'm going with a stack of the A's. So I'm going to take probably Lowry, Chapman, Pinder, and Kana. And I think it's going to be a question, do I want to play Chapman or Laureano? Because if I take all those in the 2K catcher and those two pitchers, it only leaves me 2,100 left for my last two spots. And those last two spots would be first base and outfield, which isn't a problem because Albert Pujols, for some reason, is 2K. He's playing a left-hand pitcher. It's Woods. He's good. But I think that's definitely somebody that you can play there. He's a professional hitter. He still looks like he is usable in DFS purposes. 2K, even though it's against a left-handed pitcher in a pitcher ballpark, for that price, I definitely like it. And then there's a series of you also have Andrew Vaughn, who's first base and outfield eligible, who I said is up against the lefty, and the White Sox hit lefties pretty well too. It looks like he's projected hit fifth in the lineup, so he's another option there. Or you can find another, if you do play Pujols at 2K, it gives you like 2 or 3K left to play with in that last outfield spot. And if you drop Nola down to one of the other pitchers too, that just gives you even more to fit somebody in there. But I definitely like the A's. The other thing that you could do is that you could drop Chapman or Laureano and pick up another one of the outfielders there that are cheaper, like Piscotty. Again, I try skip Andrews. I think he's kind of over the hill and not worth it, but that picks you up another couple of K if you want to pay up at the first base of the outfield spots left. So I think it's more of my GPP strategy, but I think it's viable if you go take those stud pitchers and lock in hopefully 40, 50, 60 DK points there, and then get a lineup in a good situation, stack them. If they go off, I think it could be a really good night, especially if the chalk fails. So again, if you're looking at Coors Field, I think my pairing here would be Anderson and Minor. I mean, if you want to go all the way up and put in Bauer and Minor, I think it's still doable. You might only get 4 out of instead of 5 Rockies, but I think the core would be Story, Hampson, McMahon, and Tapia. Hampson and Fuentes would be other pieces that you could potentially want to play there. So if you go with that stack, that leaves you second, third base or outfield, because you can move on McMahon between second base and third base there. You can possibly fit in some Arizona pieces here too. Pop Smith and Rojas, you could pick one or the other. I think one's 2.9 and one's 2.8 to fit in there. But if you want to try to get like Escobar or somebody in there, then you're going to have to drop down in pitcher, or you might have to drop one of the other Rockies that's more expensive out and put in like Fuentes at third base at 3.2. Then maybe in place of McMahon at 4.9 for like second base, you could throw in the like Escobar there. You might have to come down and pitcher again. But like I said, if you see that Minnesota lineup coming out and Travis McKenzie is really cheap, then if you want to pair him with Minor, or not, if you see the Minnesota lineup is really weak, not cheap, then McKenzie would definitely be in play as an SP2, play Minor as your SP1, and then you can stack anyone in Coors, or you can throw in some Cubs in Coors, or some of the other stacks that we talked about. So again, went a little bit longer than I wanted to, but again, we want to get this out to you. So thanks for watching. Give us a like, it really helps us. Subscribe to our channel, recommend to some friends. The more word of mouth, the more people watching this, it just helps us do more and more as a community here to help the DFS players out there. So again, I'm Mega Ruler 31. Leave a comment below if you have any questions, or hit me up on Twitter, and we can see what we can do to try to help you with the slate tonight. So thanks again for watching.